Some Filipino-Americans are concerned with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's proposed policies like mass deportation of immigrants. From Washington, D.C., we have with us Jove Francisco with the report.
Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends on this incredible movement.
A triumphant Donald Trump greeted his supporters in West Palm Beach, Florida, shortly after emerging victorious in the 2024 presidential elections. It was a far cry from the mood in their camp after the 2020 elections, when violence broke out in the U.S. Capitol after he urged supporters to march and protest Joe Biden's win. As the real S8 mogul ascends to the White House a second time, his supporters want him to focus on immigration right away.
Well, of course, the border. Got to close the border. Stop these people from crossing.
This worries some of the Filipinos here in America.
As you know, there's a very high so-called TNT population ng mga Filipinos sa Amerika. Yeah. They will be very at risk, and if President-elect Trump will take a very inhumane approach to dealing with undocumented Filipinos in America.
Yeah, he changes his mind all the time. So we just have to go with it, because the 4 years we had with him was also rough. It's going to be a rough ride. Very dark and gloomy, but again, we just have to work together for the sake of democracy.
Some Filipino-Americans who are supporters of Vice President Kamala Harris admit they were shocked by the results of the election and are still processing what went wrong.
A bit sad, a bit shocking, a bit gloomy that our candidate Kamala Harris didn't win. But I just have to just say maybe it's not her time. But I hope that someday that a woman will be able to become president.
She had only, less than 100 days to launch her campaign to get the American people to know her in her priorities. And she lost to the INI, the inflation and illegal immigration priorities of the majority of the voters dito sa Amerika. I'm optimistic that reasonable advisors to President-elect Trump will have good influence on him to live up to his commitment to his audiences, that he will be a unifier, he will heal the divisions.
Meanwhile, COMELEC Commissioners Marlon Casquejo, Socorro Inting, Amy Ferolino, and Nelson Celis are also here in America to observe the conduct of their presidential elections. They took note of best practices that they think can be replicated in the Philippines, such as early voting and mail-in voting.
Dito kasi may early voting and you can choose mail voting. Doon sa local sa atin is one-day election. So on the day of the election, dadagsa talaga.
Dapat nandun lahat.
Tao. Kaya dito, napansin namin, kukunti na lang kasi sabi nila, the other, yung mga iba, they avail the mail voting and early voting.
This coming May 2025 elections, COMELEC is implementing online voting for the first time for overseas voters. So while in DC, the commissioners also took time to explain to our kababayans this new mode of voting.
They are excited. Gusto nila yung internet voting kasi na-explain natin na they don't have to go to outside their house, and they don't need to be absent
sa
in their work.
Yes,
pwede nilang gawin sa gabi before matulog or pagising. Pwede mag-internet sila and then they will vote. So very convenient on their part.
Aside from the US, Filipino voters in the UAE, Czech Republic, Canada, and Qatar can now also vote online. Fil-Ams voters are hopeful that this will eventually pave the way for better and easier voting channels for Filipinos everywhere. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jove Francisco, we are One News.
Pero yung isang in-interview ni Jove dyan, sinabi nanaig daw ang INI, yung inflation and immigration. Actually, totoo yan because when you look at the numbers, what drove Trump's victory was a influx of young male voters, no? Talagang regardless of race, they voted for it. Yung messaging was very simple. Ang taas na nga ng presyo ng bilihin, you can't get enough groceries, and yet meron ka pang mga illegal na nakikinabang. Yung messaging niya, nakikinabang with you. So parang na-insight yung mga damdamin ng mga young men saying, teka lang, 'di ba? Parang paano ko papakainin pamilya ko tapos may kaagaw pa. So those two things ang messaging niya that the campaign hit that proved to be effective sa winning the election.
Yeah. Pero yun nga yung sinasabi ng mga tao, di ba yung sinabi niya, ito daw mass deportation is the best way to address new category of crime called migrant crime. And in essence, wala naman siyang data doon na pagpapatunay na tumaas yung crime rate sa Amerika dahil sa mga illegal immigrants. No? So parang it's not safe to say na porket illegal ka, sangkot ka na sa mga iba't ibang krimen, di ba? Na may mga crime reports na.
I think the general message lang naman, and I think most...
That's what he said, ha?
No, I'm saying the general messaging, and most Americans would agree na even...
And he still plans to build the wall talaga doon sa Mexico. I think nag-start yun during his administration. Ngayon talagang dadagdagan pa o tataasan pa yung mga yung wall na yun to make sure na talagang wala daw mag-illegally cross ng
yun
border
yung word
na yun.
The word you just used, illegal, di ba? He did not say we are preventing immigrants. He just simply said, pag illegal ka, gumaan ka sa tamang proseso.
Kaya sabi niya, wala nang hindi na kami magtatayo ng mga migrant camps dito dahil kapag nahuli namin sila, diretso namin sila papatapon sa bansa nila. Yun ang sinabi niya.
Oo, because naman...
But you've seen the migrant camps na pinakita, di ba, during ng mga last few years, di ba, kawawa naman din yung mga batang naiiwan doon.
Iba yung refugee sa immigrant. Ang sinasabi ni Trump is coming illegally like TNTs and ano. If you want to go into the country, come in legally, go through the process. Ganun naman din ang Pilipinas. Ganun din ang ibang bansa sa mundo. Gusto mo manirahan dito, dumaan ka sa tamang proseso. It's that simple lang naman. That is the general sentiment of even the Americans. Come in legally like the rest of us did. Nakikinabang kami sa mga benefits as a US citizen, pero dumaan kami sa tama. Why should we share, yun ang nila message, why should we share the same benefits with you na dumaan sa maling proseso? Mag-apply ka, dumaan ka sa tama. Very simple ang message na. And that's what the campaign hit. So we'll see after 4 years, kung nagtrabaho siya na maayos, magiging referendum na naman. Baka kung palpak trabaho niya, the next president will be a Democrat.